Okay, this is part 2 of Sleep from the book Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Okay, and the reason I'm showing you this treadmill is a treadmill is like a magic sleep machine. And I say that because, when you're younger, you sleep better anyways. But I remember when I was young, I had wrestling practice. We would sweat off 5-10 pounds every practice. At night, I'd come home. I'd sleep like a rock, wake up the next day, 8-9 hours later. And I've noticed, I was having some sleeping problems a couple months ago, and I really became interested in studying sleep in great detail. And what I found too was I started walking more and more on the treadmill. And I started out walking just 2 miles and reading a little bit. But what I found is I really like reading on the treadmill. And like today, for example, I walked 7 miles on the treadmill and I finished an entire book from start to finish. So it's a great way to read. Your alertness is perked up, just like, what is the purpose of a brain? 2 reasons. One, to reproduce. The other reason is to walk down a path in a forest or a jungle and to survive. So you got to navigate, you got to avoid obstacles, you got to look out for predators. It just makes you alert, which is the perfect way to read a book when you're all alert. So after working on an academic project in the morning, in the late afternoon, I'll go walk and I can really read well. And the point I'm saying is, if I walk 3 miles, I sleep okay. If I walk 5 miles, I sleep good. Walking 7 miles today, I expect I'll have a good sleep. So that's a good thing to do if you want to sleep better. And it's so easy to do. It's a pleasure to read and walk on a treadmill. If you just did it without having a book, then you would be bored. So you got to have a book to entertain you. You can listen to a podcast. Some people do that. I don't like putting those earplugs in my ears. I just like reading a regular book. Anyways, treadmill is a magic sleep machine. Out of everything I've ever done, that provides the best benefit from what I've seen. Okay, here's an example of a hypnogram, a sleep graph. And I'm going to show you some interesting things on here. Okay, so we start out, being awake. And then we go into light sleep, like this stage 1 or so. Stage 2, and then we drop into deep sleep. So one of the things you'll notice is at the beginning of the night, that's when you have the most deep sleep. So this is the reason why people say those first couple of hours you get before 1 a.m. are the most important sleep, because that's your deep sleep. Deep sleep is the most restorative. During deep sleep, you're totally out of it, and you wake up like you came out of nowhere. Okay, and I also know from personal experience, because a lot of times I have very intense work, is that if I get my deep sleep, I'm good for the next day, even if I don't get my REM sleep. Now, I try to always get as much sleep as possible, but if I have a bad night of sleep, if I at least got my deep sleep, I'll feel fine. I'll be able to work the next day, cover the emergency room, cover the stats and the intensive care unit and everything. Afterwards, you're going to go back into light sleep, and then you're going to go into REM sleep. As the night progresses, the amount of REM sleep for each sleep cycle gets more and more. Each sleep cycle, here's 1 sleep cycle, 2 sleep cycles, 3, 4. They're usually like, 3 to 5. They're typically about 90 minutes. Some people are a little shorter, a little longer. And you do more and more REM sleep, which is dream sleep, as the night goes on. So that's an important point. And the way to get more deep sleep is go to bed earlier. Okay. The way to get more REM sleep is sleep a little later. Okay. So try to organize your life so you're efficient. You can get more time in bed. All right, here's the major brain waves. So here is while you're awake, the alpha waves. And you can notice they're small, close together. And then if you look at the REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, dream sleep, it's not that different than the alpha waves, being awake. So when a person is dreaming, their brain's about as active or more active than it is when they're awake. However, the body is paralyzed when you are asleep, especially like in your REM sleep. And the reason for that is they don't want you to act out your dreams. You could, endanger yourself, endanger the person in bed with you. Okay. When you're in deep sleep, that's also called non-REM sleep, like stage 3, stage 4. You get, especially stage 4 here, you get these big delta waves. They're slow waves. So stage 4 deep sleep is called deep sleep, or it's called slow wave sleep, because they're slower. They're not as frequent as these little REM waves are when you're awake, the alpha waves when you're awake. The deep sleep waves are called D for delta, which is easy to remember too. D for delta, D for deep sleep. Okay, alpha, it's easy to remember that. A for alpha, A for awake. Okay, here's a little more detail on one of these hypnogram sleep graphs. And again, it shows the same thing, that early in the night, the thick black line is the deep sleep. So you're getting more deep sleep, okay? And then as the night goes on, you're going to get more and more. I meant to grab my own self here. You're going to get more and more of the green stuff, which is the REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, the dream sleep. So if you just sleep in a little later, you get more dream sleep. And this is also why you sometimes wake up in the morning tossing and turning, just coming out of a dream. Or if you've ever been awakened while you're in the middle of REM sleep, you might feel like you want to move, but your body's paralyzed because it still is from the dream sleep. This is how it works. So again, I think getting the early hours is the most important, but all of it is good and beneficial to you. And we talked about what happens in the slow wave sleep, that basically your memories are sent from your hippocampus and the front of your brain, your frontal lobes, out to the back of your brain, all over your brain for long-term storage. Your hippocampus is like a little thumb drive, whereas your cerebral cortex is like a big hard drive for long-term storage. And then during REM sleep, the new material of your new memories of the day is integrated with the long-term storage material that you already have in your cerebral cortex to make those memories more efficient, more integrated for you. So you can use that information more fluidly, more rapidly. Okay, just a few more points. Matthew Walker says, and I think he's right, if you lay down on your pillow and you can't sleep after a few minutes, just get up and do something else. Walk around for a while or do something else. You don't want your bedroom to be associated with not being able to sleep. You only want positive associations for your bedroom. Your bedroom should only be for sleep and for sex. Get all the electronics out of the bedroom and don't be doing other things in there, just for sleep and for sex. Matthew Walker points out that you can bank sleep. Like if you got a big sports event coming up and you're afraid you might not sleep that great the night before that, get extra sleep, and that carries over a little bit. If you wake at night, don't look at the clock. I used to always look at the clock, but your brain then starts calculating how much time you have before you have to wake up, and it's best to not even look at the clock. So I started doing that, and actually my sleep improved a bit from that. Let's see. He recommends, Matthew Walker, that you set an alarm for 1 hour before you're going to go to bed. And once that little alarm goes off, you got to go to bed in about an hour. So you make sure you dim all your lights, turn them off if you can. Whatever light remains, keep it below 30 lux if possible. Definitely below 50 lux. And start getting yourself ready to get to sleep. The adenosine accumulation we talked about through the day builds up. The longer you're awake, the more it builds up. That's your sleep drive. While you're asleep, though, the brain's removing adenosine from the brain. And once the adenosine level gets dropped low enough, like at around 8 hours, let's say, the person wakes up. Okay, that's it for part 2 of Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Hope you found it helpful.